Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we re-diving deep into one of the most powerful and thought-provoking stories in the Bible, the tale of Abraham and Isaac. It's a narrative that challenges us, inspires us, and makes us think about faith, trust, and what it truly means to obey. And trust me, even if you think you know this story, we're going to explore it in a way that just might give you a fresh perspective. So, let's set the scene. Imagine a man named Abraham, a patriarch, a leader, and someone who, despite his advanced age, was promised by God that he would be the father of many nations. This was a huge deal, especially since Abraham and his wife Sarah were well past their childbearing years. Yet, they held on to that promise, sometimes with doubt, sometimes with incredible faith. And then, against all odds, a miracle happened. Sarah conceived and their son, Isaac, was born. He was the child of promise, the laughter in their old age, the future of everything they had been told. Isaac wasn't just a son, he was the living embodiment of God's faithfulness. Fast forward a few years. Isaac is no longer a baby, he's a young man, full of life, a beloved son. Abraham's heart must have swelled with pride and love every time he looked at him. This was the son through whom God's incredible plan would unfold. And then one day, God speaks to Abraham. And what God asks, it's just jaw-dropping. God says, "Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." Can you imagine? Just try to put yourself in Abraham's shoes for a moment. This isn't just any son. This is Isaac, the miracle child, the heir to the promise, the one he waited his entire life for. To be asked to sacrifice him? It defies logic. It defies paternal love. It defies everything Abraham understood about God's previous promises. It's the ultimate test, an unimaginable request. Every fiber of his being must have screamed, "No!" How could the God who gave him Isaac then ask him to take Isaac's life? How would the promise of many descendants be fulfilled if Isaac wasn't there? But here's where Abraham's character truly shines. Early the next morning, without question, without arguing, without even telling Sarah what he was about to do, Abraham got up. He saddled his donkey, took 2 of his servants, and Isaac, and set off for the place God had designated. This wasn't a quick trip. It was a 3-day journey. Imagine those 3 days. 3 days of walking, 3 days of silent contemplation, 3 days of wrestling with this impossible command. What thoughts must have run through his mind? Was he doubting? Was he praying constantly for understanding or for a different way? Was he crying internally, knowing the pain he was about to inflict, not just on Isaac, but on his own soul and Sarah's? The weight of this journey must have been immense. As they approached the mountain, Abraham told his servants, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you." Notice that last part. We will come back. Even in the face of this horrific task, Abraham had an unwavering belief that somehow God would make a way, that Isaac would return with him. He didn't know how, but he believed in God's power to do the impossible, even to raise Isaac from the dead if necessary. That's a faith that moves mountains, both literally and figuratively. Then comes perhaps the most heartbreaking moment in the entire story. Abraham takes the wood for the offering and places it on Isaac's shoulders. He carries the fire and the knife himself. And as they walk together, father and son Isaac, in his innocence, asks, "Father?" Abraham responds, "Yes, my son?" Isaac says, "The fire and wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" My goodness, what a question. It cuts right to the heart. How do you answer that when your son is the lamb? Abraham's response is profound. He says, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." He doesn't lie, but he also doesn't reveal the agonizing truth. He speaks a truth he holds deep in his heart, that God is a provider, a God who sees and a God who will act. This isn't just a hopeful wish. It's a statement of faith, a prophecy born out of absolute trust. They finally reach the designated place. Abraham builds an altar there and arranges the wood. Imagine the tremors in his hands, the tears in his eyes as he goes through these motions. And then, he binds his son Isaac. We don't get Isaac's reaction described in detail, but he must have trusted his father implicitly to allow himself to be bound. It speaks volumes about the relationship between them, a relationship built on love and obedience. Abraham places Isaac on the altar, on top of the wood. The fire is ready, the knife is in his hand, and he raises it, ready to obey God's command. It's the ultimate moment of surrender, of letting go of everything he held dear for the sake of his God. And just at that critical, agonizing second, a voice calls out from heaven, "Abraham! Abraham!" Abraham answers, "Here I am." The angel of the Lord says, "Do not lay a hand on the boy. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Oh, the relief! Imagine the flood of emotions, the tears, the tremble that must have shaken Abraham. God wasn't cruel. God wasn't asking for Isaac's life. God was testing Abraham's heart, his ultimate allegiance, his willingness to give up even his most cherished possession. And Abraham passed the test with flying colors. His faith was proven, not just to God, but to himself. And just as Abraham had prophesied, God did provide. Abraham looked up, and there in a thicket, caught by its horns, was a ram, a perfect substitute. Abraham took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. He named that place "The Lord Will Provide," or Jehovah Jireh, a name that has echoed through the centuries, reminding us that God sees our needs and provides. After this incredible display of faith, the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven and reiterated God's promises. "Because you have done this, and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me." This story, friends, is so much more than just a historical account. It's a profound lesson in faith, trust, and obedience. It teaches us that true faith isn't just about believing in God, but believing God, even when His commands seem impossible or illogical from our limited perspective. It shows us that God doesn't necessarily want our sacrifices, but our willingness to surrender everything to Him, knowing that He is trustworthy and will always provide. It's a story about ultimate love. Abraham's love for God was so great that he was willing to surrender his deepest love, his son Isaac. And God's love for Abraham and for humanity is shown in His provision and His ultimate blessing. It is also a powerful foreshadowing for Christians of God, His ultimate sacrifice, sending His own Son, Jesus, as the ultimate Lamb, to provide salvation for all of us. But that's a story for another time. For now, let's reflect on Abraham's faith. What Isaacs might we be holding on to today? What are we asked to trust God with, even when it feels like a monumental, impossible task? This story encourages us to lean into that trust, knowing that our God is a provider, a protector, and a faithful promise keeper. He sees, and He will provide. Thank you so much for joining me today as we explored this incredible narrative. I hope it's given you something to think about and encouraged you in your own journey. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, share it with a friend, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. We love having you here. Until next time, stay blessed.